Patrick. She was very Irish, but I just looked it up because I have no idea. Something about the Christian Saint Dionysius. But it's a Greco-Roman stuff. But anyway, Patrick, I know she named me middle name after Saint Patrick. But anyway, that's who I am, and it's really good to see all of you tonight. And let's see, who else? I guess I'm going with Sarah Ames.
Well, Sarah is a family name in my family, which I was named after my Aunt Sally, my mom's sister, who went by Sally. And I'm just as happy not to be Sally, except, I mean, I know all of you have worked with, lived with, been, you know, you've known 1,000 Sarahs over your life, I'm sure. And so I'm kind of delighted that there's so few, seem to be so few at the city of Portland. Because I worked at Portland Public Schools for a long time, and I think we had 6 different principals who were named Sarah, which was just off the hook. So anyway, I have a very boring name. Common. Comes from the Old Testament. It's been around a long time. So I am going to tag Nia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nia Franco, pronouns she, her. So my name is Nia. My middle name is Anna Marie. So I'm Nia after one of my dad's favorite, I think, singers. I've not looked this person up, called Nia Peoples. But it also means purpose in Swahili. And it is also the 5th day of Kwanzaa. So I lean into that pretty heavily. I'm Anna after my great-grandmother. Her and my mom were very close. And Marie is a family middle name. It's my mom's, my cousin's, and someone else's that I'm forgetting. So that's me.
Thanks, Nia.
And who hasn't gone? I will call on
Amy, Taylor, other Amy, Rochelle.
Okay, Rochelle, you said? Rochelle.
Zainab.
And Zainab.
Me. Yep.
Judith.
Hi, my name's Rochelle. I was actually named after my grandmother, and her name was Rivka, which is a Yiddish name. And in America, we Americanized names and chose a name that started with the same letter. So apparently there was a movie star named Rochelle Hudson, and my mother liked it at the time, so that's the name she chose. And I will call on Zainab.
I didn't really want to talk today.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was really like listening to everybody. Sorry, I sound funny. But again, I had a tooth extracted. I won't make it long. I have a very long name. I just go by Zainab Folk though. But my mother never named me. I'll just put it that way. Somebody else named me. And while Zainab is not popular in America, it really is popular everywhere else. And so a lot of times people are always surprised when I am named Zainab, and I'm also from Oregon.
Thanks, Zainab. How about Amy? Can you pop in?
Can I? Oh, I was going to call on. Oh,
you. Go ahead.
Barb. Is it
Barb?
Amy? Barb. I was going to call on Barb, if possible.
Thanks, Zainab. My name is Barb Rainish. I use she, her pronouns. Couple things. One, my real name is Barbara, but if I say my name is Barb Rainish, that really increases the chances I get called Barbara. And I hate the name Barbara. If you're gonna call me Barbara with like a British accent or an African accent, I love it. But I would be crazy to walk around asking people to do that. So it's much easier to just say, call me, which both of my parents do. And it's very fitting to me. The longer version of my naming story, because everyone's telling something like a little funnier, is that before I was born, if I had been a boy, my parents had thought of the idea of taking the first initials of each of my grandparents' names, which are M, A, R, and C, which kind of spells Mark the way I said that. But my dad's idea was Cram, which is the exact reverse of that. And my dad was like, Cram Rainish, that's like the greatest name for a football player. And I was born in Nebraska, so that like all totally fits. And now I'm going to call on Amy. And I love cracking you up, Theo. I'm going to miss you. Calling on you, Amy.
There we are. Well, mine is short and sweet because I was adopted, so I have no idea what my original name was. My adopted parents named me Amy, and that's kind of all I know. There isn't much else to tell. Thank you. Is there anyone left? Judith, are you left?
Thank you. Yes, I'm Judith Mowry, and my name Judith came from my mom really loved this old Betty Davis movie called Victory Before Dark or Dark Victory. And yeah, and the main character's name was Judith Traherne, and you know, she was this spoiled socialite who then marries this great doctor and has this awakening. Then of course she gets a brain tumor and dies. But my mother loved that character and that name so much that all her short stories were written in college using the name Judith. So that was what she told me why she named me Judith. So, and I will call on Taylor.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Taylor. My first name was just kind of something my parents picked, but my middle name is Kathleen, which is my great-grandmother's name. And we are a very Irish family, and Kathleen means pure. So.
Thank you. And we have Anika. Anika, we're sharing our name story.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Anika Bent Albert, Deputy City Attorney for the, sorry, someone rang the bell, for the City of Portland. Name story. I've asked my mom, and she mentioned she just looked in a book and liked my name, which apparently is Scandinavian, and my family's from Jamaica, from the Bronx, so I'm not sure. She just liked it.
It's a really nice name.
Thank you.
Great. I think I cut everybody. Amy said in the chat that she's staying off the camera or off sound because she's got a fussy baby. And Tia's asking, Taylor, are you a community member who's just dropping by?
Yes, I'm a college student, actually. I'm attending for part of a public policy class that I'm in.
Good. Well, we welcome you. Yeah, that's great. So we're going to start looking at the agenda. We are going to start with the reports from this, for some reports from subcommittees, subcommittee check-ins. Then we can have some public comment. And then we will, the Pisa Behavioral Health Subcommittee has a letter of support that they want to bring forward to the meeting at the end of the month to have sent over to PPB. And we'll discuss that and then set the agenda for the next month and then see if there's new business. So who would like to go first on the subcommittees?
Well, I can go because mine is fresh. We just had it at the meeting last night. And in our meeting, we decided that we were going to rethink the timing for our youth speak out. And Taylor, if you could stick around, I'd like to talk to you about becoming part of our youth subcommittee for PCCEP. I figured I'd do that before anybody else did. And then we decided that we're looking at maybe an April date for our youth speak out. We've got the flyers out. We're still recruiting. We're still trying to get some time on cable with Celeste. I need to talk to you about that, Celeste, as well. So we're still in the planning stages. We're not trying to take it too fast. We just want to make sure that whatever we do is meaningful and that we get the response that we need. Okay.
Thank you, Gloria.
Mhm.
That was great. How about, Amy, do you want to report in on the meeting this month?
Yes, I'd be happy to. This meeting, our behavioral health subcommittee, we wanted to finalize, kind of work towards the end of our discussion around the wellness program that is happening at PBV. And so we finalized a letter of recommendation to, not recommendation, but a letter of support to support the wellness directives. And we're going to be bringing that forward to the full body committee for review with the revisions that were made. And we're looking forward to having some wonderful conversations in February around the mental health directives that are currently up for review, especially the ones around mental health crisis response and the director's holds, which are really important in my work. So yeah, we're going to have some folks come and educate us about the process and maybe learn a little bit about what they do and why they do it, so we can all work towards improving the directives. So thank you. Hope to see you at the next meeting.
Thanks, Amy. Celeste, can you talk about the last racial equity subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, we met and we had a few people there from the community, as well as, a lot of our partner support. And what we did, we inadvertently ended up going back over the presentation we had made previously, where we looked at how the data analysts determined what criteria went into the stops reports, the stops data, and how that criteria was chosen, how the state did it versus what the city was doing, as well as some of the motivation for collecting it. And one of the big motivations is the fact that we have the DOJ settlement and the actual dynamic that brought this into being, the PCCEP. We went over that. Dan Helderman from Copwatch was there, and he was very helpful in that he brought forth a lot of the ideas and points he had made. So we went over there with regards to that and got everybody who attended caught up. With the changes that have come down the pike, one of those being the determination that the chief's directors weren't as effective as people thought they would be. We might be looking at that for the next meeting and how to integrate that into our next steps. But that's what we did. And we're continuing to both move forward and try to increase our recruitment to bring more community members in so they can be involved.
Thank you very much, Celeste, with the disappearing voice. Zainab, I said in the chat, I don't know if you saw, I'm wondering if you want to say anything about SAP. I know it's hard to talk right now. Or
well, I know December's meeting was canceled for the settlement agreement and policy subcommittee. Ann Campbell has chaired the subcommittee since September, but has been a long-term subcommittee member along with me. And so I know we're having a June, what month are we in? January 13th meeting, which is Thursday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And hopefully you can join us. And if you need an email about this, just stick it in the chat and I'll send an email with the information. Was that okay?
That's great. Thank you.
Real Real
Yeah.
quick, I just wanted to ask Zainab, Ann changed the meeting to 6 for all the subcommittee meetings at 6. So is that going
But
back
it
to
wasn't,
5:30?
it wasn't on the seat. So if that was the case, Theo, it should have been on the website. I went by the website because that's what the most public information is. And so that's why we use 5:30 to 7. So if we need to move to that the next time, let's make sure the website reflects what the time is, because that's where I got my information from, and that's where the public is getting their information from as well.
From the
That
calendar,
sounds just,
like, correct?
pardon
On
me?
if you go to the calendar on
Calendar.
the website,
Yeah.
that's what it says,
Okay,
5:30 to 7.
Great.
And that's
So
why it's best to stick with that time, just in case. Now, if people come late or whatever, that's different. But let's make sure that if that time is out there for people to see publicly, that we make sure that we're there for them as well.
okay.
Great. It looks like, oh, there's Claudia.
I could speak a little bit about that. I think that with the changes in the other subcommittee, I know Anne wanted to, and then I talked to her today and she said to just go ahead and keep it from 5:30 to 7, since that was what was out for the public. But she thinks that during the Thursday meeting week, the hope is to maybe just jot down a time that we'll finalize for the rest of the year, so there isn't this confusion moving forward. But yeah, sorry about any confusion now, but it will just stay at 5:30 to 7 for Thursday, and then that is a conversation you guys can continue if you do choose to change it to 6 again. But with the meeting being canceled and the holidays, it did change a little bit, so we want to make sure we do make it clear for everyone moving forward.
Thank you. And we have had feedback from the community that they would really prefer if all our meetings started at the same time. It's very confusing to track all the meetings and then track different times for them. So that was some of the impetus for going to having them all start at 6. But so we're going to leave it as it is for now. We'll announce it at the meeting, and then we can do some extra, we can send out some information through our MailChimp list as well to let people know about the time change when that happens. Great. Okay. So we know about those things. And the one thing that I do not see on our list. Well, let's go to the one thing we don't have on the agenda is the update. And we have our friends from the COCL here to talk about the update on the body worn camera event on the 23rd. But before that, I just going to ask if there's any public comment or questions before we move away from the subcommittee topic. Yes. Okay. And you can always reach out through chat or any other, other ways we can put our staff emails in the chat as well. So we have with us Dennis and Nia and Amy from the team that does COCL, and some of us met with Nia and Shailene. So Dennis, are you going to introduce, or is Nia going to take it away?
Yeah, I can introduce Nia if you're there. I know she has conflicting meetings right now too, but we're very excited about working with PCCEP as to co-sponsor this virtual community forum on January 23rd to discuss body-worn cameras. It looks like Portland's going to be doing that, and the issue is what the community feels about various decisions that need to be made so they can help them improve the policy that they need to develop as they move ahead to seek out to purchase the hardware and technology and get moving toward down that road. Nia, did you want to say a few words about what the plan is for the 23rd? Or I know working with Theo and Claudia and everybody, we appreciate that, and Judith, but I just wanted to introduce Nia, and her and Shailene are just fantastic. We're wonderful to have them on our team, and they have a lot of experience in Seattle and Chicago and elsewhere to work with community engagement in this kind of an arrangement. So Nia, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Dennis. So as Dennis and Judith alluded to, we will be partnering with PCCEP to put on a community forum specifically around body-worn cameras. as Dennis was saying, this is something that is coming per one of the 9 remedies by the DOJ. So what we're looking for out of this forum is just to create the space for community members to come in and express to us what some of their concerns are, so that we can use that information to kind of give advice as they move forward through the program, so that all of that can be taken into consideration in building out the body worn camera policy. So we met with Judith, Theo, and Claudia. That was just yesterday, and a bit on Friday, to discuss what that looks like, what our collaboration will look like. At this point, we're thinking it'll be a 2-hour minimum forum where we will hopefully have breakout rooms so people can break out into smaller groups and discuss, as some people may not be comfortable speaking in front of a large group, which we're hoping to have. We will also be simulcasting to either YouTube or Facebook, I believe, so that we can also give people an opportunity to engage there, like through the chat functions. All of the chat functions that you all have available during your larger board meetings will be available there. We'll also have ASL interpretation and closed captioning as well. So we're trying to make it accessible for as many people as possible and also get the word out to as many different groups as possible. So that is more or less the spiel. If you guys have any questions that I can answer, please feel free to ask. Zainab?
Thank you, Nia, and nice meeting you too. And so I'm glad you're here, Dennis, at this meeting. I know we talked yesterday. I am still trying to catch up on the fact that this is happening, who's delivering it, and the timing of everything. And so how does Coco plan on doing outreach to get people to attend? And what's the expectation in regards to the numbers? That's the first question. Did you want to answer that before I go into? Yeah, okay.
Well, and Nia is probably better at this than I am. I'll just say that, we want to reach as many people as possible here, especially those who don't usually have a voice in this kind of dialogue. So we're asking anybody who has organizations that have email addresses and members that we're asking PCCEP. I know you guys have your own lists, and the city does, and we just want to reach out to as many. Nia, do you want to respond to that a little bit more?
Sure, yeah. So we have been in touch with a few people in a few different offices. So we've talked to Natasha over at PPB to get in touch with all of the advisory councils that are specific to different groups. And we've been working with CAO to reach out so that we can get as broad of a swath as we can. We're also asking for PCCEP to push this out through their email distribution list as well. We are always open and willing to have more conversations with people about this. So that's something that we're actually adding in as the invitations go out, that this is happening, we're having this forum, and if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. So we're just trying to get contact information from as many different groups and people as possible so we can push this out as far as possible.
Are you also using advertisement in media to get the word out through radio and is it local television, or is it, I can't remember, signal, open signal, or?
So we had not pushed it out through media at this point, but I think that's something that we could potentially arrange. Dennis, if I'm speaking out of turn, please let me know.
No, that's a good idea.
Right. I saw.
Someone asked about the acronyms. Okay, there you go.
Right, I saw, and I was about to say it's the city attorney's office. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I speak in acronyms all day and I forget sometimes, so
It's fine. It's fine.
I'll just quickly share that Open Signal will be doing the live stream. So that will be available.
That's
on
great.
YouTube.
That's great, Claudia, because I know when Dennis said about people who normally don't come or don't get access to information, it's just trying to figure out what ways to get the information out to them, especially given the time frame of when this is being held. And it just, well, can I go to the next question that I had?
Sure.
It's about keeping, you said that you're going to use these certain, are we still using PCCEP's Zoom, or are we using something totally different? And then how are you going to keep that space safe? How you keep the space safe? Can you get that word? SAFE, safe. Thank you.
I'm not the expert on that, so I'm going to leave that to Theo and Nia and others that know more about technology.
So yeah, we will be using the PCCEP Zoom. If you're talking about safe space, well, actually, let me ask that question before I try to assume. Do you mean in terms of like making sure people feel comfortable to share what they're feeling, or making sure that there are like minimal disruptions? Could you expand?
Nia, both ways. You hit it. You got it covered, Nia. Both ways. Okay.
All right. So in terms of the first way, we definitely, from our experience, and I'm speaking on Shailene, who was not able to make it tonight, we have conflicting meetings. So we are used to setting a space. As Dennis was saying, we've done this work in, we're currently doing it in Seattle, where we've had conversations that are about really difficult topics such as use of force policies, and collective bargaining. So we understand how important it is to set the space and let people know that, you can share exactly how you're feeling. You don't have to kind of make it pretty or clean it up or worry about if you're stepping on toes. Just say what's in your heart, and we will hear that and take that in with like all the grace that you deserve, like as a human being, right? It's also making sure that we are being very clear in that we're not asking you to come out and speak on these issues and then we're going to do nothing with it and you hear nothing from us. That's why it's really important that we, as we discuss this, we're saying that we're going to take what you all are saying and put it into the technical report that we will end up writing on body-worn cameras as a part of our recommendations on what should be in the policy. So that's the aspect of making sure people are comfortable and know that they're sharing their feelings and their emotional labor will not be in vain. The second aspect, I may defer to Theo on that, seeing as we'll be using the PCCEP platform. So Theo, can I tap you in for the other aspect?
I was distracted by my child. Can you ask me one more time?
Sure. So Zainab is wondering how we're going to keep the space safe. And we mean, in that respect, we mean like from disruptions.
So PCCEP staff do that job of monitoring the PCCEP accounts. So if there's Zoom interruptions, including like the Zoom bombing, then PCCEP staff, Claudia and Judith at that time will be able to just remove them automatically. If there's aggressive language or stuff like that, people will get one warning. And this will all be said at the outset of the meeting. At the very beginning of the meeting, people will say, you get like, in the unlikely event that there's aggressive language or really egregious kinds of things, you'll get one warning and then you'll be removed. But if there's any talk of white supremacy, if there's any talk of blatant racism, then you automatically be removed. So PCCEP staff will be in charge of that.
And we did several.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Zainab. I was just saying we did several very big meetings 2 summers ago where we had over 300 people attend, or around 300 people attend, and we really were able. We had very little disruption, so that's worked pretty well.
Yeah, thank you, Judith. But something that Theo said reminded me of a meeting that we were at, and I think you remember that when someone was removed. And so I recommend whatever Coco does, you put it in writing so that people see it, they can read it, they agree to it at the beginning so that they know what's going to happen, because that was one of the biggest struggle we had, is because somebody was removed and they thought it was they were being harmed in that situation. So thank you for that. Dennis, I didn't want to get off this before commending you and your team. And I can see that you've listened and seeing the new addition to your team with Nia and with Shailene. And so I appreciate your listening basically on your company and moving this settlement agreement forward. But thank you, Nia and everyone.
Thank you.
And just real quick to that meeting that Zainab referred to, PCCEP members or PCCEP staff were not the only ones in control of that, of hosting that meeting. So the person was removed by a non-PCCEP staff member. So that won't be the case in this meeting. Only PCCEP staff members will have the ability to remove people.
Yeah. Okay, and when we put together the agenda for the rest of the meeting, we have another ask from the COCO. So I don't know if you want to stay around, Dennis, about the COCO report piece or that Amy emailed us about or not.
Sure. Is this about the third quarter report that's coming out?
Yes.
Yeah, and that we usually have a town hall with a PCCEP. And yeah, that report, I didn't see Amy's note, but did she say when it would be? It would be out in a week or two.
Yeah, and then
we'll be.
Sorry.
We'll be posting the public draft by the 18th, and then public comment will be due by February 17th. So we typically schedule the town hall concurrent with a PCCEP meeting within that window.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So that's the ask for the agenda. So when we get to the agenda planning, we can have more feedback on that, and we don't have to get too distracted by that. Is there anything else right now on the body worn camera? Does everyone clear on what that is? And yes, we can answer questions in chat. Let me know if there are ones that I'm not seeing, or that Theo's not. Theo, maybe you can watch chat as I'm doing the facilitation. Tia.
My question was if the police officers will be at the body worn camera community meeting.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Well, there is this is not totally finalized yet, but I'm trusting the experts here to help me with this. But the idea is there would be an introduction. There has to be a couple experts available who can answer questions. There's one deputy chief that is capable of doing that, who's agreed to do that. There's also, we're hoping, someone from the city attorney's office and someone from COCO, so that when people have questions, technical, whatever, they can respond if necessary. But they would not be dominating the discussion. They would just more be resources that are there. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes.
Tia, previously what we have heard, especially in those moments, is that, to make it the safest space as possible, a lot of people who want to come and comment on their experiences with police feel more safe if there are not a lot of police in the room. When we were meeting in person, there was the request that the police not wear their uniforms when they came into the room. So that's just another thing to keep under consideration. And of course, it'll all be on tape, so people can watch it for sure. Okay. So it looks like the question is, looks like Jared will be there from the DOJ as well.
Yes. Yeah, the Department of Justice will be there to answer questions as well. Yeah.
So that'll be on the 23rd. We're setting up the Zoom room and getting the flyer together, and we will be getting that out just right away, my understanding. I think just had to dot an I and cross a T with Nia and Shailene on the flyer, if I'm keeping track okay. So could you
Celeste put something in the chat too, and I didn't hear anything about.
Okay, so Celeste was saying that if on the 17th, if Nia and Shailene, if you would like to go on KBOO, our community radio station, to talk about the event, that she would be happy to make that happen.
We would love to. Celeste, can I email you offline to get more details, to make sure we can fit it in our schedule and everything?
Yes, I'll send you all of my information here in just a minute. So, you know, you and Dennis or whomever you wish to come on are more than welcome.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks, Celeste, and thank you for pointing that out, Zainab.
Yeah,
So
I also want to point out that I appreciate you updating the website, your website, because I went there last night and it wasn't there. So I really appreciate you sharing that. And is this the information that we should be sharing with the community? I just want to make sure.
Yes, what's on our website is the information for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Amy to talk about a proposal that they have that they want to bring to the next general meeting. Then we will be building the general meeting agenda.
You may think you're turning it over to Amy, but Amy has the crisis phone and the dog's barked.
Do we have, Barb, before you start, do we have, I reached out to Claudia because the link on the agenda was going to the wrong place earlier.
I think on the agenda goes to the Wellness Directive, which is what we're talking about. But
it should be updated.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go
but
ahead, I'm sorry, Barb.
Was the letter itself was separate last time I looked, so both should probably be available. And if you can put the letter up, Claudia or Theo, somebody magically, that would be super cool. It's actually very, very simple. I hate looking at myself. So a couple of years ago, both the PCCEP and the Training Advisory Council, the TAC, had recommendations to the police that they should have a wellness program type ordeal. And on our website were the PCCEP recommendations. And so that was sort of part of the impetus of the program. And that was 2 or 3 police chiefs ago. But the Behavioral Health Subcommittee has had several meetings with the officers and sergeant in charge of both the wellness program as well as the employee assistance program. And at this point in time, they are about to put a new directive up. And it has already been, the date on the letter, this letter is from the subcommittee. So let me explain that in a minute, Rochelle. That can you just hold that thought, please? The program, the wellness program is not part of the directives as of yet. So this would indemnify it into the police directives. And it has already gone through the public review process, as well as being reviewed by the union at this point. And you know, it was the program, the directive itself was developed from the police policy people, basically. And all we're doing basically is saying, yes, we as a subcommittee of PCCEP support you guys indemnifying this, and you know, look forward to working with you on it in the future, which I guess it doesn't specifically say that in there. And the idea would be that we want to now put it on the agenda and bring it up to the PCCEP. And rather than have it coming from the subcommittee, having it come from the full PCCEP, at which point the date would change. So I think that explains Rochelle's question. And I think that's what I got for right now. Does that make sense to people? Oh, 2021. Good job. Good job, Rochelle.
And I think Tia has a comment about where's the additional language that from the meeting the other night.
Oh, Theo has it. What happened to that? If we have to, I can go back onto the tape. Theo, additional language. He's adding it
Yeah, I asked him
on
earlier
the.
to
What?
have it- I asked him earlier to have it ready for tonight, the updated version.
Right, but that, okay, Amy's across from me now and I'm
You
talking to her. And so we've got what we've got, and I'm afraid to touch her screen. So I don't see it in the, I'm not looking in the chat. So if somebody wants to read it, or if they want me to read the letter, I am more than happy to. But that's basically what I have to say.
Check
And
at the top, the icons are all at the top of the screen.
I'm not touching anything.
Okay.
So can
And-
can I make a process point for everybody is that?
Yeah, I was about to sort of do that.
Yeah.
Because, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so the steering committee, the different chairs can bring forward things that they would like to see put on the general agenda. And then there will be PCCEP discussion and there'll be public comment and then a vote. And as soon as the letter would be attached to the draft of the letter will be attached to the agenda for the general meeting so that everyone has some time to review it. So we can make and Theo has put the additional language in the box, which Theo, if you want to read, is great. I just want to point out that there's the question tonight is not as much about whether you approve of the letter, more about bringing, is there reason, would there be, mostly usually we do approve of subcommittees when they're ready to bring something forward.
Yeah, so the subcommittees can put it on the agenda, and I'm happy to read the other language, but from the previous subcommittee, we were asked to keep the language as is and then bring it
Ready.
Later. So that's why we didn't integrate any other language, because we were asked to keep it as is. But I'm happy to read the other part, but this is just about, it's not about voting right now. It's not about any of that. It's just about getting it on the agenda for the general meeting so that it can go to a vote. Just to further drive home Judith's point about process. Zainab, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, I was, reading, I think Claudia's put in there the Wellness Program Directive draft. And I just was wondering what RU stands for. RU? Am I missing coordinate with RU Wellness Program? Or is that just a each
I'm sorry,
RU?
I'm not seeing that.
Okay.
Is
Because it's on the draft Portland Police Bureau Wellness Program 500. And then Barb and Amy, are you saying that this isn't even in the first review yet? That's what you're saying? You're trying to get to a first review?
No, not at all. Can you hear me now? Somebody tell me if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm like fighting with my computer and Amy's computer and everything else. Well, yeah, good. Now I'm up too. Hold on a second, you guys.
Okay, RU means responsible unit, just in case you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thank you, Tia. Thank you, Sarah.
That's what I was trying to say. It's just the breakdown of, how they divide up their duties, basically.
Their programs. Zainab, it has gone through the subcommittee. So the next step is then to bring it forward to the general committee.
No, I'm talking more about the police bureau itself and how they deal with directives. That's what I was asking. If this is the first or second, their directives process.
This
Sorry.
is different.
This is at the end. This is the end of it.
Listen, okay, you guys, if you go to the directives right now, there is no directive 500. The wellness program is not indemnified in the police directives at this point in time. it has gone through the entire process it needs to go through. The first and second universal reviews with public comment, and people from PCCEP, including our friend Tia, I hope you don't mind me outing you, Tia, definitely participated in that. And so it has gone entirely through that process. It just needs, I don't know if it's still with the union or not, but it basically just needs the chief's signature at that point to become Wellness Directive 500.
And can I just please let me make a point, is that for the process, anytime the Bureau creates a new program, it then requires a directive that creates the policy around the program. So this is not a policy review in the normal course of the policies that Mary Claire sends us out to post.
Okay.
This is separate. And this is just they had a pilot, and now they've come back and said that they want to make it, they want to make it a regular part of the police programming.
And so the question I have, and sorry, and I'm not trying to frustrate anyone, but I know that when I first was reading information about PCCEP's recommendation on body-worn camera, it was a recommendation written by Lakiana, and I'm not sure if you're planning on adding that to it. And the same thing, Barb and Amy, is this letter that you're asking to bring to the general board member, are you asking us to vote on the letter so it can preempt the directive? That's what I'm trying to ask. Is that no? So what is it? So what is this letter for?
Okay, the letter is simply a letter of support coming from the Behavioral Health Subcommittee to the Police Bureau. And Tia has pointed out that it needs to have the additional language that was discussed in the subcommittee. And that language would be added before it's added to the agenda, which would then be discussed at the public meeting. So it is what you were referring to was about body-worn cameras, the other recommendation. There was some research done when this very first came to the PCCEP, and that is also available to look at. We were talking in the subcommittee meeting that it is not actually a recommendation as much as some comments and research that the PCCEP members did and that they want to put out there. So I think, does that answer your question, Zainab?
Yes, it does. Sorry, move my fingers. I just noticed that it was in the recommendation format that so again, trying to understand everything. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And honestly, we need to actually, I believe, take any one member's name off of it. All the recommendations should come directly from PCCEP as a body. So we will correct that. Okay, so
okay.
So now we're working on, so that will be one of the agenda items. Yes, Theo.
Just for time purposes, 3-hour meeting. Do you all envision members of the subcommittee, behavioral health subcommittee, and the steering committee? How much time would you like to allocate for that? Just so we don't have to guess. This discussion around the letter of support.
Okay, Barbara's suggesting 45 minutes so we could have a robust discussion and get all the questions answered.
Right, I'm gonna just put out, I think that's a little long for a
You
letter.
asked, we answered, now it's your turn. How
Okay.
much time should we have? 30 minutes?
Looks like Gloria had an idea.
Okay.
Or had the same reaction I did.
Yeah, I did too.
I did too. I think
Everything's negotiable, guys. Don't worry
I
about
hear
it.
you.
We can
I hear
negotiate.
Great.
But I'm just thinking that we're going to be going from 5, or if it's 5:30 to 8, and 45 minutes out of that time would be a lot of time. We wouldn't be covering too much other information. So why don't we take it in segments? Why don't we break it down like 20, 20, 20?
Yeah, I was going to say, Gloria, how about if we get all the things you want to cover in that meeting on the table?
Yes.
There we go. And
Then
then
we can work the
decide.
time
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
Thank you, Judith.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, Zainab.
Thank you. Because one of the things I heard, I believe I heard the COCO team talk about is that they want to have us discuss the report, the third quarter report at our next meeting. When is our next meeting again?
The 27th, is that correct?
Okay, and so we have wait, that's
sorry,
going
25th.
after
25th.
that's after the community thing,
Yeah.
community, I'm gonna say
Forum,
thing,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, the community forum. And so should we also consider that now, since we have some time and it's 10 days, that 10 days in advance, so that we can get people to know that they're going to be reading this report and needing to give feedback later, but a deadline? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Zainab. And yes, that is the next thing to discuss is the COCO report, which, just to be really clear, is completely separate from the body worn camera conversation. Just so everybody's clear on the same page. And yes, so do you want to say something? We have new members that have not gone through that process, Dennis. In the last few times it's been through the SAP subcommittee meeting.
Hey, Judith, real quick, sorry for the interruption, but I received an email from the COCO team a little bit ago about their ask for tonight. Maybe you guys can read that email and everything in there.
Well, that's what we're asking them to speak about it now that they're here.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
We all got that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've done it different ways. It used to be at the full committee, and then I think the last couple of times it may have been at the steering committee or the settlement agreement committee. I don't, you know, I'm sure Theo and Claudia can remember better than that. But the important thing is that we usually, Tom and I, we speak for, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at most, and then there's usually a half hour for comments, first by the PCCEP committee and then by the public. And we answer questions about the report. And then people still have another week or so. If they didn't get to speak up, they can send comments to us before we finalize it. So it's posted. It'll be posted like next week. And then they can give us comments. And we also post the comments that we get. So without identifying people, that, you know, so they can, and our response to them. So we try to be as transparent as we can. So thank you.
So everybody, just so we're all on the same page and new people who are in the room, the meeting starts with a welcome. It has traditionally, we've had a moment of silence for lives lost. And we have not been doing that as much, but that was something that happened for quite a while. And then the PCCEP members begin. We have the subcommittee reports that come in. We have a report from the police, which usually Mary Claire is the one that tells us what's up. We'll have a report from the DOJ to talk about what's happening with the settlement agreement. And I don't know, Sarah, if you at the city attorney's office in the past, we have had that kind of be a joint update. So kind of bringing everybody up to speed on where we are. And there has been some movement in terms of the settlement agreement that we'll want to update people on. And then we're going to have the proposal for the letter of recommendation. Am I forgetting anything? Claudia, Theo, anyone else? We always have public comment time. There's always public comment before there's a vote by the PCCEP members.
So we stopped doing the election stuff, right? Because I know that was something that we used to do at these meetings, is elections for people present their present themselves.
We have
and
no
what about,
alternates. We have no alternates to put up for election anyway.
And do we have anyone new joining us through our recruitment at all? Okay.
No, and let's put a pin in that, Zainab, because we need to talk about that tonight, that is a high alert priority for PCCEP given the settlement agreement. And that is something we have got to prioritize, is getting more members. We have a required number of members through and in time to fill seats from the PCCEP plan.
Can I say something? I'm not sure if anyone else who is new or a part of PCCEP membership, have you ever gone to the COCO website? Because they really have a archive of everything that's happened that you can look back on and read. And I was doing that last night, and I was really finding it very informative, just to see where we are today and where we were, even when knowing that PCCEP is really quite new as well. And so it's just great. I'll just put it out there. It is a great wealth of information regarding the legacy of this whole process of the settlement agreement.
Thanks, Zainab. That's a great recommendation. Okay, does anyone have any objection to or thoughts about putting this on the I was going to say menu agenda for the general meeting?
We can go on the menu too, but yes, it's great to have it.
Can you
on
tell
the
I'm
agenda.
hungry?
Yeah, I'm like thinking the same thing. I can't eat though, but yeah, I'm with you. Yes, Gloria and Celeste. All right, so Gloria, I know there was some events that you were thinking about. Are you planning on bringing that to the general, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? The general meeting, the full board meeting, anything from the youth subcommittee that was discussed? I didn't know if you were planning on bringing that to the bigger meeting.
I'm going to meet with Celeste separately, so I don't have to do that. And then we have another person that will be joining us, and I'm very happy about that, Ms. Taylor. And that, I don't think we should have to.
Yeah, and there will be time for every subcommittee to give an update. So you could add whatever you wanted into the update as well. That would be separate from bringing forward some new topic.
I guess it was really more if there was any, because I know we only meet once a month in a general meeting. And so if we're able to bring it out to everyone so that everyone knows what's on the table. I know we all are working in our different subcommittees, but I just think it's really important that we bring everything to the full board meetings so that we all know and who are aware, because some people do not attend every single subcommittee meeting, and information can also get lost in those meetings. So I just encourage that. Thank you.
Thanks, Zainab. Okay, so it sounds like we're on for the COCO report. Dennis, and so we have the COCO, we have the regular reports, the COCO report, the wellness letter of support. Barb, did you have something you wanted to add for another agenda item?
You did say you were going to add, I'm sorry, you did say you were going to add the fact that we were going to be losing members and we need to do some replacement. Did you add that to it?
Thank Theo.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important thing. That's a really high priority recruitment for new members. But I also wanted to mention, I wonder, and I don't have a preference, obviously, I just wanted to pose it to the group. This is going to be right after the body-worn cameras discussion by the COCO. Would there be, do you think there should be time built into the agenda just to recap what was said there for any folks who may have missed it or want to discuss further? So I thought I'd pose that.
Tia?
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading.
No, sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say? I saw you light up. I'm just going to throw out there, one of the concerns I have is that we keep those things, I mean, that it's clear to people what the COCO role is, and what I think that when we'll have an update from the DOJ and the city in some form of somebody that talks, as Sarah's like, well, somebody's going to come to talk about the updates. One of the updates will be where we are on the negotiations on the body-worn cameras. It was in the newspaper today that there's been an agreement that the DOJ has final say over that policy. And that may be where, you know, we want to talk about updates, you know, announce other ways people can give feedback on that.
Yeah, it's up to you. I fear, and I think the negotiations may not reflect the community response. So I just wondered about a deeper conversation about that, but it's entirely up to you all. And I'll leave it at that.
I would like to hear a report.
Yeah, so we'll have, okay, so maybe the COCL, either Nia or Shailene or Dennis, one of you could give an update from what you've heard from that night.
Yeah, we could have Nia or Shailene do that. It could just be a brief update, you know, because we are going to produce a report on it later. And we're also, I didn't mention tonight, I'll just mention it in passing now, we're also designed a survey that's going to go out. It's a brief survey, like 10 questions, but we're going to send that out through the whole community and ask them about body worn cameras as well. So that data will be in our report as well. We can just mention that. And you know, we're trying to help get this started, but we at some point hope to pass the torch to PCCEP if there's a need to continue the dialogue way down the road about, because, you know, body worn cameras will be monitoring the city's level of implementation. And we do care deeply about what the community thinks about it. So if PCCEP in their role can continue that after we've started this, that would be great. We'll help out as much as we can, but we have to return to our job of assessing their compliance. And so we'll do this and maybe, you know, some more down in the next month or two, just to get this moving and put out our report. And we'll provide some technical assistance in that report based on what we know from other cities. So Portland can have that as well. But yeah, we can, I know you have so much on the agenda now, Judith. I just want to, you know, we could maybe give a 5 or 10 minute overview of what happened 2 days earlier.
Yeah, and my understanding is that, I mean, we've already made recommendations. My understanding is from PCCEP, my understanding is that, I don't know if you're doing more of that. Sarah, am I correct that what was in the paper was correct, that the DOJ is going to have to approve any policy agreements that are made around the body worn cameras?
The body worn cameras is part of the DOJ amendment to the settlement agreement that we have. And in that amendment, they did reserve the right. They want final approval of our policy. They've put out some policy guidelines. I think Jared has shared with many members of PCCEP already about what the DOJ would like in its ideal kind of body worn camera. I think they're fully aware that we have a number of moving pieces here and negotiations, and the city can't get out front and say, yes, we agree with all of it, or not, we're not taking a position until we're past a little bit farther along. But, so they have a little bit of wiggle room from those principles, but that is, they've put it out there, what they would like to see in the policy, and they put it out there that they have final approval. So we have, we kind of have a framework to think about and work within and comment on.
Thanks, Sarah. And just, I wanted that because Theo, just to your point, I don't know if you've seen those, but the things I've seen the DOJ put out actually are in alignment with what I've heard from the community. So if the DOJ has some say on that, that could be very positive. Zainab, and then let's wrap up and make sure we have our agenda tight. And some of us go eat, some of us go back to bed with our colds and our COVID flus. Zainab?
Yes, and thank you, Sarah. Because I'm not sure. Sometimes information gets lost in the, through emails. If there was anything put out from DOJ about the body worn cameras, it'd be great to get that information. And so if we have that for before the next general meeting, at least we'll have it for everyone to see and read. I would like to say something, if I can. Theo, I'm not sure if this is your last meeting with all of us when it comes to everyone. And so I wasn't sure if you're planning on being at the 25th meeting or not. Okay, great. So I will save that until then. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zainab. And I was actually going to say that one thing was a recommendation that we reserve a little bit of time to acknowledge and thank Theo for his service with the PCCEP.
Yes.
So we will leave some time to do that. Just what Theo loves is public praise, but you're going to get some. So we have the updates from everybody that usually gives us updates, and then we will have a conversation about the wellness recommendation letter for recommendation.
Judith, sorry
yeah.
for interrupting real quick. I'm sorry for this, but it's really important to me that I see the information blocked out in time so that I can get a clear picture of the timelines of everything that you have planned. Is it possible, Theo, for you to do that on screen? As she's wrapping off what we're doing, I need to know what block it fits into of time. Remember, we all want to know how much time do we get.
We talked about who was.
And I was just going to ask, because Amy, I'm going in the same direction.
Okay, thank you.
Great minds, you're just a second ahead of me. I was going to ask you to think about, I'm thinking we're going to want somebody who sets the context, right? We're going to want to say what it's about. Do you all want to make sure that Casey can be, or that, no, who's the one that starts with an O? Leo can be there to answer questions that might come up, or you all can think about that. So what was occurring to me, having facilitated a lot of meetings, is maybe, 10 minutes explaining where this came from, what the purpose of it is, 10 minutes for conversation amongst the PCCEP members, 10 minutes for public comment, and then the vote. So I'm thinking, maybe
that's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. We said 45, so we weren't that far off.
No. It's just, we're just trying to suggest doing it slightly differently. And then
what you're saying is perfect, but the time adds up to be 40 minutes.
Right. That's
10,
great.
10, 10, 10.
Right.
So it's 40 minutes. When we said 45, it just wasn't broken up yet.
Perfect. Great. So we're all landing in the same place. That is wonderful.
Yes.
And then, and usually that first part, Theo, Claudia, you've prepared these agendas more than I have. How long is that usually the first hour that all that first reports from the committees? And
I can share a little bit if you don't mind, Theo.
Thank you.
So as I'm taking the notes right now, so far for the agenda, I have the subcommittee and city, etc. reports at 10 minutes. I have the body worn camera recap for 10 minutes, the COCO report at 30 minutes, the wellness program letter of support at 40, Pisa project director recognition for 10 minutes, and then recruitment notice for 10 minutes. And the timing might be a little off, but just as we're talking and I'm note taking, this is just what I have. And of course it's not final, so if anything needs to change, let me know.
And Amy, I'm sorry we don't have a draft to put up on the, I did hear you request that. And I'm sorry, we will make sure we have that in preparation for future meetings when we're building the agenda. I totally see how that helps. And how long did we say for the COCO report?
I have it for 30 minutes, and I'm trying to get onto Zoom so I can share it in the chat as well. So
what do you think, Dennis? Does that sound like maybe more?
I mean, usually it's closer to an hour where we do 30 minutes, but we can cut our presentation back to 15 minutes. I mean, do you want to do 45 and compromise, or, I mean?
Dennis, I think it's important because we have new people come to the meetings, and I would just suggest that in general, we always do an introduction to what we're doing. So if you're brand new to the meeting, you still have a sense of what's happening. So, and here's the other great thing. We can always end early. Like we don't have to fill the time. We just want to make sure we have enough time. So an hour will give you all an hour to be thinking about. And again, we can, if everyone's done, we'll be done, and we'll just move on and go a little faster. So I think that sounds, yes, Zainab.
Yeah, I think, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the visual too. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Amy, for saying, because I was the same way, needed to see a visual. But let's remember, it's always those in-between conversations, those comments that adds up to more time that we're not expecting. And definitely Coco needs an hour, if not more. Okay. Is it an 82 page report again? Somewhat around there? Exactly. So people need time to read it and then also come back to it. And those who are new, I know they have examples on their website that you can refer back to.
Thank you, Zainab. That's great. So we'll have plenty of times for that. Miss Celeste, Miss Diva.
My only concern was if this presentation is meant for the public or not. Are we giving them ample opportunity and access to the information so that they can both read and process it?
So we put it, this is 2 weeks before the meeting, and this is always when the agenda is prepared. Tomorrow we will, but it doesn't come out to the 17th. Is that what you're saying, Dennis? When are you going to release it?
Correct. I think it's the 17th. Yeah, it's next. Yes, next Monday.
Next Monday. Okay. Yeah, because I want us to err on the side of giving the public more time to hear and assess this information. Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, the timing is challenging. Yeah, so
Just one more thing, Judith, in response to what Amy's saying, even though the meeting will be, like a week later, they have 30 days from the time it's posted next Monday to put in comments.
Yeah.
So after the meeting, that may stimulate them to go read the report, or something.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis. That's a really important clarification. I did want to ask we don't have to decide this tonight, but to the steering committee members, I wanted to ask you to consider whether we should have a regular new business time on the agendas for the steering committee, for the general meeting, in case community members want to come and bring something up to you all that is on their mind or they have a concern about. We just really haven't had a space that has been built in for that. And so, as I said, we only have 4 minutes, so we don't have to decide right now. But I think that it's something we've talked about in the past, and I'd like you to consider. Amy.
Yeah, some of the things we did at other committees around that was like, we had a running parking lot. So like if folks came up with great ideas or suggestions, we just whiteboard it somewhere and the secretary would write it down. And then at the end of the meeting, we'd go, we just post what everybody had suggested. And then we'd all kind of look at what we felt as a group would be the next best thing to tackle. So I think we should just let people know we have a running suggestion board, maybe, or call it that or something, where during the meeting and chat, if somebody has an idea, they can either say it or write it, and we can keep tabs on a running parking lot. We'll just call it that, right? Does that sound familiar to folks?
It does sound familiar to me, but because we only have 3 minutes left, I'm going to propose we put this on the agenda for the steering committee meeting next month when we can have some time to discuss that. I just wanted to throw out as a thinking point. And thank you everyone so much for your time and patience. I do want to say we are still in the process of lining up all the stars with the mayor's office to find out exactly what the process and next steps are around filling Theo's position. I did receive finally today the job announcement that was used last time, which I will be sending to the members. It took a while to get that out of HR because we did not run the recruitment. And so you will have more information about that, and we will keep you posted. And our talking about, Claudia and I particularly, and I know Theo has to appreciate your patience as we make it through. We're going to be, Theo will be gone. It'll be a loss. I will be doing my best to step up. And I also have a whole other, bunch of stuff I'm working on. So we are here and excited to be working with you and are looking forward to continuing to grow this. I think we have such a great team of people.
I'm glad you said that, Judith, and thank you. You just reminded me of my comment in the email, and I meant to bring it to this meeting too, is about looking at a temporary steering committee for this hiring, or people, how do PCCEP get involved in the hiring process? I really think it's really important, especially for this committee, to be able to be involved with that process. So thank you.
Yes, and that is, that's why we have to get it cleared up, what's going to happen internally first. And absolutely, you will be a part of the process. Last time we had PCCEP members that participated on the interview process. You know, usually we get, there's several steps. We get applications. There's a review of applications, deciding who we're going to move on an interview. That's a whole place people can participate. Then we have interviews, another place that people can participate. And of course, putting into your when I send you the what was put out last time, any thoughts you have in terms of what the job duties should be, if there's something not there that you think should be reflected, or any kind of change. What would be really helpful to us is just to hold on until we ask for all that. If you can keep your notes, Claudia and I are trying to organize a lot of emails and information. It gets a little overwhelming. So you will absolutely have a part of that process. We wouldn't have it any other way. And thank you everyone for your time tonight. Byron, you've been quiet, but always great to have you here. Thanks for showing up at so many meetings.
No, I appreciate it, Judith. Theo, it's good knowing you in the short amount of time that I have. I appreciate you. Hope that you have, your endeavors will be prosperous. I'm just listening, Judith, but I will just leave it at that.
Thank you. I just want to make sure to give you a shout out for being a PCCEP member who's here. Thank you.
Yeah, my lighting is bad in here and you wouldn't see me, so that's why I don't have it on. I would look crazy.
Oh, I got some extra lamps in my basement. Okay, talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for being here.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Stay safe. Stay well.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.